Hello everyone, welcome back to our video lecture series on AutoCAD. The last session we have seen how we can include text to our drawing. In this session we are going to see how we can dimension our drawing, and as you may be aware or as you know, without dimensioning a technical drawing will not be complete. So for adding dimension to your drawing, like what we have done in text, first we need to create a style to define our the type of dimensioning what we want to use. And in the earlier semesters, when you learned about technical drawing or machine drawing, you might have came across different standards for dimensioning. Like you cannot do dimensioning in as you wish, like that you have to follow certain pattern. You have to learned about aligned type of dimensioning, then unidirectional type of dimensioning, and what should be the proportion of length to width of an arrow, and all those details are familiar to you. As far as AutoCAD is concerned, you don't have to worry too much about those things, because we will be having certain standard styles already available in AutoCAD. So you can just copy that and modify it accordingly, or you can just modify the same style and use in your drawing, right? So the first important aspect as far as dimensioning is concerned, you need to define a dimension style, or you need to modify the dimension style appropriately to suit your requirement. So if you have opened your AutoCAD for the first time, and mostly you will be having a dimension style which is named as standard. And also if you are opening an AutoCAD based on some of the templates, and if the templates has got some built-in standards along with that template, then that also will be formed. So as normally we will be starting a drawing based on a CAD ISO template. So in that particular case, you will have standard along with that an ISO type dimensioning style also. So any of these we can take and we can modify and create our own dimension style and use in our drawing, or we can just modify some of the details in that one. And also, if you think about dimension is not a single element. Like dimension consists of different entities or different objects. These are clubbed together as one block. This is another important concept what you'll like to learn. Like now we will be discussing about block in the next session. So today, for the time being, you can understand that a block comprises of different entities, and it is like associated together, or it is working as a single element. So dimension is something like that. And you can see, if you take a dimension, you can see this is called the dimension line. This line here, or this line, or this line, you can guess dimension line, and these are called extension line, and we'll have arrow here, then we have dimension text. So a dimension consists of dimension text, dimension line, then extension line, and there are various other factors. Like you can have different arrow styles, and you can have this gap different. So a lot of elements are there, so we need to specify these elements, and we are doing it by defining the dimension style. Okay, so dimension style will comprise of all these details. So first let us see how we can change the dimension style, or how we can modify certain elements in the dimension style. Okay, so for that one, like as usual, like in home tab we have few elements like now regarding text and dimension. Or I haven't shown this when I discussed about text. The single line text and multi-line text are available from here itself, but to get more comments related to text, it will be better if you go to the annotate tab. Similarly, for getting more details about, or for more comments related to dimensioning, it will be better you go to annotate tab, wherein where in this particular area you can see items related to dimensioning. And here is the dimension style drop down. Here you can see standard and ISO 25, two dimension styles are available here. And if you want to change or modify, create a new dimension style or modify the existing dimension style, then you can click here, modify dimension style. Alternatively, you can use the command. The command is dim style, D-I-M-S-T-Y-L-E, D-I-M-S-T-Y-L-E. When I click dim style, you will get a dialog box or you will get a window like this, wherein you can see all the dimension styles which will be available here. So in this drawing I have ISO 25 and standard 2 dimension style, and I made some alterations in the in some of the or in this standard dimension style. That is why you can see something or style overrides here. It's because I tried to modify that one, right? So if you want to create a new dimension style, you can click this create new, and for that one you need to select a base dimension style. So you can copy any of the dimension style and make a copy of that one, and you can edit or modify various options related to that one. So at present I'm not going to create a new one, but it's almost similar to modifying the existing one. So if you know how to modify the existing one, then you can create new. So only thing is, if you want to create, then first you'll have to give name and select a base dimension style from which it has to be copied, and after that you can go and make suitable changes. Okay, so now I'll be using this ISO 25 here, or I'll be just showing this ISO 25 or standard, whatever it may, maybe let it be standard, and then you can click this modify, right? So when I click this modify, you'll be getting a bigger window wherein we have different tabs here. The first tab is related to dimension lines, in fact. Related to dimension lines. Okay, the first tab is related to dimension lines. See, when you see a dimension, you can see there are a number of lines which we have already discussed, that this and this are called the extension lines, and this is called the dimension line. So you may want to change the color of the dimension line, or you may want to change the sorry, change the type of extension line. All those things can be done in this particular tab, like this lines tab. Sorry. Okay. So normally the color, line type and line weight will be keeping all for a dimension block. So we'll be keeping it as by block. And I recommend that if you want to create dimension in your drawing, you create a separate layer for dimension so that you can include all the dimensions in that layer. Maybe if your drawing is too complicated, you can have more than one layers in which some dimensions will be put in some layer, another remaining dimension will be in another layer. You can manage it accordingly, or you can organize it in that particular manner. That will be more suitable rather than adding all those things in the same layer, right? Fine. Now same layer or the layer in which we are preparing the drawing. So better to have this a separate layer for dimension. That will be a good practice. Okay. So here, if you see, you can do a number of change a number of way in which your dimension should look like. Now you can change the color of the dimension line if you want. Line type you can change. Line weight if you can, and how much it should extend before. I mean, if it is tick mark, how much it should extend beyond tick mark. That is what you can treat. And this is baseline spacing. If you are using the baseline type of what is the dimensioning, then what should be the baseline spacing? That is what it is mentioned here. So here you can see, like, you can suppress any of the dimension lines. Like, see, in certain cases the dimension line will be split like this. So this can be treated as dimension line 1, and this can be treated as dimension line 2. If it is not split also, you can think an imaginary break at the center, and this will be one dim line 1, and this will be dim line 2. So you can suppress any of this if you want. Like, now I will show you example here. So if I suppress this, you can see this one line is not there. So if you suppress both, nothing will be there, or if you suppress this, only this will be. So like that you can suppress the dimension line. Similarly, you can do with extension lines also. The color you can change, line type you can save, and you can suppress any of the extension line if you want. So these options are available. And also, if you want to change the length beyond which this dimension line should or this extension line should extend beyond the dimension line, that can be marked from here, and the offset from the origin, that is this particular gap what you are seeing here, that also can be changed by changing the value here. So these are the some of the changes what you can make, or some of the modification what you can make by using this modified dimension window. Okay, the next one, you can define the type of arrow you want. See, there are a lot of standard arrows available. So in some cases we may use architectural tick, or some cases we may use dot for denoting the arrow, and mostly for mechanical drawing we will be using this closed field, so I'm okay with that. Similarly for the second arrow, so this is first arrow, this is second arrow, that also you can see. And also we will have leaders. Sometimes leaders means it will be arrow with a line or an arc, when you can write something at the end of the arc. So in arrow, how I should have my, sorry, in leader, how I should have my arrow, that is what I can select. Okay. And from here you can specify the arrow size in terms of its length, right? So you know, the length versus width, we have a proportional, it should be 3:1. So if you give one size, automatically it will be calculated according to that arrow will be drawn. So in circles and arcs you can mark center lines, and for center line, the size of the center line also can be defined from here, right? And this dimension break, if the dimension has to be break, then what should be that break size, that can be given here. So there are a lot of like small adjustments what you can do, or modifications you can do, or each and every detail is available here, so you can read it. All these things are self-explanatory, you can understand. The next tab is related to text. What should be the size of the text, and where should I place the text, whether it should be centered or whether it should be left justified, right justified, or whether do you want a frame around your text. All those things can be selected from here, like, I mean, as it is. And one important aspect here is text height, because if you are not properly giving the text height, then basically it will not be clearly visible, or it may be too large in your drawing, so that has to be set properly. Then this fit tab, I mean, I'm not going in detail about this fit tab, where you need to place your arrows and other things. So if it is not fitting there, how it has to be worked. So those things are mentioned here. And the next two are related to units. This primary units indicates in which unit you need to display your dimension. So we have the different units which we have seen earlier when we learned about units. So we have scientific, decimal, architectural, and all those things. But we are okay with decimal. So most of the cases we will be satisfied with decimal. We are not following in any other pattern. The next one is for precision. You can set the precision to any level, like it can be 0 level or to 2 decimals or 1 decimal, depending upon that one. And then we can have this what is that? I mean, decimal separator. Like normally it is 10.5. In certain cases, it will be 10,5 for 10.5. So we can have either dot, which is period, or comma, or space. Anything can be selected as far as decimal separator. Okay, so these are some of the things. What also a rounding factor also is there. If you want, you can round off. These are related to the units, how the units will be displayed, or in which unit you want to display and how it will be displayed. And in certain cases, we can have alternate units also. For example, like you have your dimension in inch, and within bracket you want it in centimeters or millimeters. So here it is 1 inch, so it is 25.4. So something like that. So, or if you want the main unit in millimeter or in centimeter, and the alternate unit as inches, that also is possible. So you can give that. The only thing is you need to give the appropriate multiplying factor here. Multiplier, what should be the factor? What will be this change? So according to that, both the units will be displayed. The primary units will be displayed first, then within bracket the secondary units will be placed. So if you want to dimension you are drawing in 2 different units, then you can use this facility. And the last tab is related to tolerance. Tolerance. If you want to include tolerance in your drawing, and which style you want, whether it is limits, whether it is deviation, whether it is symmetrical, all those things can be mentioned here. Right, so these are the changes what you can make as far as dimension style is, and once you make all those things you can click OK, and those modification will be coming in your dimension style, and you can close this dialog box. So this is how you can create a dimension style, or how you can modify the existing dimension. Okay, so with that I'm closing that one. So as I have used the alternate, I mean I made this alternate unit ticks, that's why you can see here in bracket the other unit also is displayed here. This is only a sample. Okay. Okay, now we'll see how we can dimension a drawing. So I'll be closing this one. I'll not. So I'll have something, the earlier drawing what we have prepared, and I have some few objects drawn here for which I'll be dimensioning. So if you look into this, here you can see the styles which are available. So we need to make a dimension style current for drawing, for dimensioning. So anyway, I'll go to the dimension style, change the precision here. I'll use this ISO 25 itself. Okay, I'll modify that one. I'll go to the text size, let it be 2.5 itself. Now, although it will be small, we'll see that later. Primary unit precision I will make 0. This I will make period. Okay, so I made it two corrections there. And also when I discussed about layers, or maybe initially when we had discussions, it's always better to have a separate layer for a dimension. So I'll go to the dimension layers properties dialog box and create a layer for dimension. Layer dimension. Color for, and I'll make that current. So I'll be putting all my dimension in. Okay, now I'll go here. So suppose now you can give the dimensions, and this button here, if I click this icon here, then it starts dimensioning, or majority of the options will be available. So you can read that one. So create multiple types of dimension within a single comment session. So with a single comment you can create multiple types of dimension, but this may be confusing initially. So I'll use separate comments for individual dimensioning, and maybe later you can come back to this and understand what this is. So here, if you click here, the various options are available here. So say linear means you can have linear dimension, that is either horizontal or vertical. I will show that. If I take linear, and if I take this, see, I can have this horizontal dimension or vertical dimension. Vertical dimension, right? We have other options also. Before coming to that one, see, if you see here, you can see that the dimension text is very small. Even arrow is small, I cannot see that properly, right? So we need to increase the size. One thing is, you can go to the dimension style and change the values there. And we also have another option. So if you want to change all, or if you want to scale all the dimension, all items related to a particular dimension style, you can use a command called a dim scale. So I'm using the dim scale, right? And the current scale will be 1. So I'm just increasing that to say 2.5. Maybe a little bit more. I'll make it 4. Like I'm using dim scales to 4. And now I need to update that one. There is an option here to update. So I'll update this. The older one. Oh, this is quite large, but it's okay because we are going to study dimensioning. Although I think 3 will be sufficient, or 2.5 will be sufficient, but it's okay. Okay. So we have seen what linear is. Again, if I take this linear, see, depending upon the way in which we move, like now, if we are moving like this, it will give the horizontal. If you are moving like this, it will give the vertical. So again, if you want the horizontal also, you can use this option. So the different object snaps I have made. Okay, right. Now this is how we can dimension, and also we have aligned dimension, that is see here, when I selected this endpoint and this endpoint, it has given me horizontal or vertical. But what if I want the actual length of this line? So I can use this aligned. I'll show it here. I'm picking the first point, second point. It is aligned in with respect to. Then we have arc length. Suppose if you want to measure the arc length of this one, like this, you'll get the arc length of. Then we have angular dimension. So for angular dimension, when you can select an arc, then that angle of that arc will be, and this is 30 here. Or if you want to angle between two lines, then also first you need to pick the vertex. For that, first you press enter, then you select the vertex, then first endpoint and second endpoint. So all these things are simple. Like just click the command and just follow the instructions what AutoCAD is giving. Just have a look at the command line, right? Then what is that? Have radius. Suppose if you want to specify the radius of a circle or an arc, then you can just select that one, position it appropriate. Or if you want to specify the diameter, that also is possible. Diameter. And sometimes your center will be somewhere, and if you want to mark the radius in a jogged way, you can use this command. So I'll select this one. So where I should place the center, let it be here. Where I should have the arrow, those things you can place here. So this is jogged, and also we have ordinate system, or x ordinate and y ordinate. That is, it's from the origin. It will be explaining like now what will be the x value and y value from the origin. Here I have origin, so I'll first draw a line here from 0, 0. Okay, so I have a line something like this, which is 100 units x direction minus 20 units. This particular point. So if you see, if you want to give ordinate dimension, then you can take this ordinate, and if you pick this point, you can see this is 100 in x direction and this is 20 in y direction. So if you want to give ordinate dimension, you can use this command. So this is about majority of the dimension. And also we have something called quick dimension. Quick dimension, if you have too many numbers of items, and if you want to give it at a stretch, then you can use this quick dimension. See here, all the endpoints, it is coming like I put all these dimensions up, and here you can see that all are given separate like this. So in a single stretch, you can select that one. See, we will have more options for that one. And suppose if you select, then if you want it as continuous, and just see. So this is continuous what you have done, and we'll see whether we can have other baseline. Now see, it is formed in the baseline like 60, 110. So we have a baseline, and from that all the dimensions. So this is baseline. So we can create different types of, and for all those things we have command here. And for creating continuous and baseline, we have options here also, right? Suppose if you want to create baseline, so maybe for this one, I'll first create a linear dimension from this point. So I want this as baseline and to create other points, so I can just click baseline, and next point I can click, next point I can, right? If you want to change this distance, you might have maybe remembering like in the dimension style window, we have seen that baseline distance. So by changing that, you can change this distance. Okay, this is how we can create. So this update option we have already seen. Like now you can change if you change dim scale or some other parameter, then you can use that at update option to update a dimension which you have already made. So these are some of the options what we have, and of course once placing your dimension here, you can just move it by using the grip edit what we have seen earlier. Also, we have certain editing tools available here. Suppose if you want to make these lines inclined, that is the extension lines inclined, you can use this option. So here you can select that one, then you can select the dimension which you want, then you can give the angle. Maybe I want to incline it for a 30 degree. I will give public, select objects. Yeah, that is inclined at 30. Okay, we'll try it again. Specify 30 it is not. Maybe if I give a different angle, it may work, right? We'll see with that. So this is already 30. So this time I used this. Okay, that is for this is for changing the angle of the dimension text, and this is for changing the uh, inclination of the dimension line, in fact, or like this extension line. So, public angle 45, right? So it is on there. It is I've given it arbitrarily, so I'll undo that. Again, I'll undo that. So this is about that, and also we have other options like now to align this to left or right. Select this, so we can see that just come this side. Similarly, if you do this, coming the other. So these are some of the editing facilities what is available here. Similarly, we have something called dim override. Dim override in the sense, suppose if I want to change a particular detail about this drawing. For example, if I want to change the text size, I'll make it sentence. Suppose if I want to increase the size of this text, right? So whatever it may be now, so I want it a bigger size, maybe I'll make it 30, right? So for that one, and you don't want to change for others, so for in that case you can use this dim override. Okay, so for that one, the comment is here, you can click here, and then it will ask the variable name which is to be changed, in fact. So for that you need to understand like variable different elements of a dimension. So here for changing the text, it is dim text, dimtxt. So I'll be using dimtxt, and its current value is 2.5. What is the value you want? I will make it 10, in fact, right? Then okay, again I can give a different variable, but I'm okay with one variable, so I press enter. Now if I go and select that one and press enter, you can see that size is increased accordingly. For that one only, the change is not reflected in the other one. So like this, you can make a lot of changes, or you can work accordingly. So this is how you can dimension your drawing. Also, this dimension here, we have additional facility, like suppose if you have a circle, and also I'll draw two. I'll make all this 0. Now we have provisions for center mark and center line. Like if there is a circle or an arc, and if you mark the center, if you draw the center lines or center a mark, you can use this option. So it's very simple. Let me just click here and select this one. See, automatically the center mark will be created. Similarly, if you want to create center line, if you have two parallel lines, or if you have two lines for which you need to draw the center lines, then you can use this option. Then select the first line, then select the second line. Right. So these are some of the options in dimensioning, and we have seen majority of the basic operations what you can perform, or basic necessity, the basic requirement as far as dimensioning is. And all these dimensioning items are available in dimension style or on the menu here. So we can explore that and study and understand further. So dimensioning is very easy as far as dimensioning in AutoCAD is concerned. Maybe in certain cases it can be a little bit tricky, but if you follow, or if you attempt that in the proper manner, it's not a difficult task. So that's all as far as dimensioning is concerned. So with that, I'm concluding my discussion on dimension. The next class we'll see something called block, and we have already been discussing about block, and we have already mentioned that dimension is a block, and block is another important aspect in AutoCAD which we can use regularly. So till then, bye, stay home, stay safe, and if you have any clarification, any doubt, please do use the discussion forum which I have created in this Moodle. Also, you can reach me by any other means, like you can mail me, or you can send me through WhatsApp, or maybe the YouTube. You can put some comments, or whenever I come across that comment, I will try to answer those queries. And if you have any doubt, I mean, don't feel hesitated. Please feel free. This is a very simple software if you approach it in a very proper manner, and it's a very useful. Okay, then stay home, stay safe. Bye. Thank you for watching.